Hi, my name is Anton, and I'll be your guide for hiking in Grande Cache. I moved here in 1978 for a couple of years, thinking that this is an absolutely marvelous place to live. I came from Regina, Saskatchewan, and as a boy, I dreamed of going to the mountains and being on horseback and doing all the trails I could possibly do. So that's why I came here in 1978 and for 2 years, and I forgot to leave. I'm still here. When I first moved to Grande Cache, I was so excited to travel all of the trails that I could possibly find around Grande Cache. Grande Cache town site itself has many trails that you can travel in and around. I've spent 41 years traveling on the trails and off the trails in the bush, exploring this area and the mountain in which we live in. It's been awesome, and I'm not quitting yet. There is a treasure trove of trails within the region of Grande Cache. Right from town, from your backyard, from your front door, there are so many trails that one could travel by mountain bike, by horseback, by walking, hiking, running. Most of the people who live here are involved in some way or another on the trails. You could hike the mountain and spend the entire day or many days, or you could hike out the back door and go around town in an hour and a half. The trails that I would check out if I was brand new and just came to Grande Cache would be the ones close to town. There is a trail that we've built that is 8.6 kilometers that circumnavigates the town. Beautiful trail that is high, graveled, culverted, so it's not muddy and wet, and you can travel all the way around town. Beautiful walk, beautiful scenery, the possibility of seeing wildlife right here in our backyard. I would start there. If you come to Grande Cache, and when people do come to visit us, we always take them to some of our spectacular scenery places. The Sulphur Gates, where the cliffs, you can overlook the cliffs and two rivers joining together, and the mountains in the background is spectacular. We can have, we go to the Muskeg Falls, which is another great falls just south of town by 20 kilometers or so. A beautiful little walk for 10-15 minutes, and you massive drop of a waterfall down into the Muskeg River. This is a very open country. The rest of the country besides the town of Grande Cache is an industrial-based forest. Parking is not an issue, permits are not an issue. You do not have to get a permit to hike into Wilmore or around town. We're not like that, and hopefully we don't get like that. Well, I think in Grande Cache we have 3 seasons. Basically, we miss spring because we tend to be so high up in the mountains at 4,100 to 4,500 feet above sea level, so we are slow to melt, slow to warm up, so we are a little bit behind everybody else in the spring. So winters are beautiful, they're warm, we have the same kinds of Chinooks as Calgary. There's tremendous skiing and snowshoeing and outdoor activities, Wiener roasts here in the winter because of the mild weather. And we also have usually quite nice summers, not like the hot beach weather you might get in the prairies, but warm enough. We have an absolutely wonderful place called Grande Cache Lake at the bottom of our hill, which is just outside of town, and there's a beach there. We take our grandkids, and when my kids were growing up, I spent half the summer there at the beach. A wonderful place. There's also a nice little place. It's a day use area called Mason Creek, and a creek flows through this campsite, and you have to jump into an absolutely freezing, ice-cold pool of water. And that's an adventure. I take everybody there for that adventure. One of my favorite spots is actually called Anton's Ridge, and it's below us and behind us, and you must hike through the forest and down the side of the mountain we live on, and to a place that overlooks the Smoky Valley and Wilmore Wilderness Park. It is absolutely spectacular. I take everybody that comes to Grande Cache to that place. It's on the map, Google it. It's called Anton's Ridge. It's a medium-sized trail. Wonderful place to go. Grande Cache is unique because we have so much to offer here. We are the recreation base for this province. When I moved here, I often thought that we would be very much like a Jasper in the 40 years that I've lived here. It hasn't happened yet, and we're still a secret, but I hope we don't keep that secret too long. We've got too much to offer here. If you want Jasper and Banff without the crowds, come here. If you want the trails to be unclogged with people that you're constantly shuffling through, come here. We have millions of miles of trails and wilderness, and if you like peace and solitude and nature at its best, this is the place to come. I have had people who are teachers here who moved away and traveled the world. He came back here last year and said, you know, Anton, there are not very many gems in the world, but this is one of them. And for that reason, you should come here.